The time to buy insurance is when you can buy it. I mean, if you lived in New Orleans and Hurricane Katrina all of a sudden popped up on the map, you couldn't get insurance any longer. So your ability to protect yourself was gone. So you want to step up. I mean, if you've got funds that you want to protect, just protect it. Don't try to time it. I mean, timing it now is stupid because there's only a few seconds left on the clock. You know, what's going to happen at that point? If dealers get debanked, then what does gold and silver in your hand become worth? It becomes worth more because the population can't get any, and the owners of metal will become whatever supply there's going to be.
Precious metals broker Bill Holter has joined the throng of expert analysts and prominent investors who have been warning people to take action before it's too late. According to Holter, a widespread global collapse is imminent, and when it hits, it will sweep away everything in its path, causing untold hardships to investors who fail to prepare in the very little time left. In a recent densely packed interview with Liberty and Finance, Holter discusses the early signs of the collapse, the endgame, and how investors must prepare to avoid losing everything. The best form of preparation is taking your money and sustenance completely out of the system, and in this case, out of the hurricane's path. Holter says the right time to do that is right now. As the collapse draws nearer, it will become increasingly difficult to remove yourself from the system because the main aim is to keep everyone in the system so the end game, a complete financial reset, can be easily achieved. According to Holter, in no distant future, we're going to see a more pronounced debanking of alternative industries like bullion dealers. When that happens, retail investors and stackers will have the only available supplies to cater to new retail and institutional investors. Holter predicts that metals like gold and silver will become really scarce almost overnight as soon as multi-billion institutions decide to buy them to weather the storm. During the interview, the popular metals broker also discusses some early signs of this imminent collapse. In the U.S., for instance, consumer spending, which makes up 70% of economic output, tanked badly in the second quarter of the year. The real estate industry is a big mess as a result of the high interest rate environment, and we are just one collapse away from replicating what's happening in China. In addition, foreign investors, especially central banks, are dumping the dollar and U.S. treasuries, further tanking the U.S. M2 money supply, which is already at record lows. Holter says all these are signs that we are already in a recession and that the fiat Ponzi debt scheme is quickly unraveling. Despite the severity of all these events, Holter says they do not compare to what's coming. If you want to be properly informed and prepared for this huge global financial crisis and reset, ensure you watch this video to the end, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos. You can also join the conversation by dropping your comments and observations in the comments section below. Thanks and enjoy.
I've been told many times that whenever I've said that the end game, we will see hyperinflation of the things you need and hyper deflation of the things you have. I've been told, 1,000 times, you're an idiot. It can't happen. You can't have inflation and deflation at the same time. But we have that already. I mean, just go to the grocery store, look at healthcare costs, look at oil. The things that you need to survive are inflating. There's no question about it. And the things that you have, real estate, stocks. And when I say stocks, don't look at the averages because they're able to hold, they've been able to hold the averages up by manipulating a dozen or 15, 20 different stocks to keep the averages up. But if you look at the average stock, I mean, they're hammered. They're down 30, 40, 50% inside, in the broad picture. So, I mean, we're seeing deflation of the things we have. And just look at the credit markets. Look at bonds. Bonds, U.S. Treasuries, are the foundation to the entire system. Yet, with interest rates going up, you've got huge losses. I think I just read an article, the Fed has lost over $100 billion. Bank of America, their book is down over $100 billion. And it's interesting, they did merge the Fed and the Treasury a year ago or 2 years ago. So now the Fed can rely on the balance sheet of the Treasury, which is even worse. But if you ask somebody, is the government broke? 95% of people will tell you, yeah, the government's broke, but it doesn't matter. My point being, they merged the Fed into the Treasury basically to hide the Fed's balance sheet. And if you go back, I think the last time I saw was maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago, the Fed is running this whole operation. The last number I saw was on $65 billion is holding the system, if you will. So you're seeing huge deflation in the credit markets. And I mean, those are the three asset classes, if you will: bonds, stocks, real estate. They're deflating. At the same time, it costs you way more each month, each year to live, to survive with the things that you need. You mentioned that the Fed just paused. To me, it looks like they're doing this on purpose. I mean, I wrote this back in 2007 that the policies that they were putting in place were too stupid to be a mistake. It had to be a plan. And I stick by that to where we are today. I think it's a plan. I think they're going to try to tank the entire system, and it will be, let me just back up a little bit. They know that the system is untenable. They know that the math does not work. So they know that a crisis is coming. Obviously, they don't ever want to let a good crisis go to waste, so to speak. They're guiding this into a complete collapse. They want to force the public to beg for a CBDC. If they came out and said we're doing a central bank digital currency, as things are right now, people would complain about it. But if people have lost all their savings and are basically penniless, they're going to beg governments all over the world, please give us money. And it doesn't matter if it's a central bank digital currency. They're going to snap the trap shut is what they're doing.
Holter warns that the double threat of hyperinflation marked by rapidly increasing prices and hyperdeflation, lower asset prices will continue to worsen in the coming months. As asset prices drop lower, the prices of goods you need to survive will continue to soar, making people poorer, more frustrated, and willing to accept any solution that is presented by our corrupt and inefficient governments and their elitist backers. Everyone is against central bank digital currencies now, but what happens when their homes are underwater? Stocks and bonds are almost worthless, and inflation is over 20%. Everyone who fails to prepare now will certainly be more receptive to whatever scheme they introduce when the crisis hits. According to Holter, we don't have much time left to prepare. In as soon as 12 months' time, the metals broker says we might be too deep in the crisis to make any preparations. Let's get back to the interview.
I certainly think we're going to have the breakdown within the year. How long is it going to be broken down? Is it going to be 2 months, 2 years, a generation? I don't know. But at some point in time, we are going to go through, I believe, a Mad Max scenario where, because credit has broken down and the payment systems will break down. Do you really believe that the police are going to be working? Do you really believe any first responders will be working? Our social security checks or the aid checks, the EBT cards, are those going to work? No. Grocery stores will be empty. When I say grocery stores will be empty, in order to create the goods that end up on grocery store shelves, you have to have credit. So when credit breaks down, it's going to be a shit show, plain and simple. You could look at what's happened in China with their big property markets, Evergrande, then the next one, which was even bigger. Look at San Francisco. Look at I think there was a hotel that sold for $245 million back in 2018. It's now on the market for $90 million. And they're asking $90 million. Are they going to get 90? No, they'll probably get 70. Who knows what the number is? But my point being, that's a loss of close to $200 million. So who's going to eat that loss? And I'm asking that as a question system-wide. It's a loss. It doesn't just go away. It's not like all of a sudden, $200 million, it gets thrown away. Somebody eats that loss. And that's on a system-wide basis. That is not, it's not just San Francisco. Like I mentioned earlier, the pending home sales have collapsed. It's a classic debt bubble that is beginning to deflate. So, that's what you look at. You watch the credit markets. Watch interest rates. Watch the foreclosures that are coming up. It's over. First thing you want to do is you want to get your assets out of the system. You don't want to have stocks with a broker, money with a bank, rely on an insurance company to make monthly payments to you. Get third-party risk out of your life and become your own central bank. You do want to live rural, and unfortunately, living rural, that skill set is very hard to find today. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, people lived out in the middle of nowhere and figured out how to survive. Those skills are gone. The average person today, if grocery stores were closed for 3 days, they're not going to eat again. So you do want to live rural, and you want to become as self-sufficient as you possibly can. And self-sufficiency means you need some form or forms of energy. You need tools. You need to be able to protect your place. You need food supply. You need water, and you need the ability to purify that water. It very well may get to that where there's no services at all, and you're entirely on your own. Could you live entirely on your own for a couple weeks, a couple months, 6 months, a year, 2 years? Who knows how long it's going to last? But that's what's going to happen, is at some point in time, you're going to be on your own. And if you're on your own rural and you have neighbors that you can barter with, transact with, that's going to make your life easier. But if you're in a city, everyone has nothing. So there's nothing to really trade back and forth. And the ones who do have something, they're going to be overrun and that'll be taken. So, just try to become as self-sufficient as you possibly can.
A good indication of what's coming and how much time we have left is the state of the real estate industry in the two largest economies in the world. China's property crisis, which experts say is still unfolding, is already testing its too-big-to-fail banks, according to a recent report from the New York Times. In the United States, commercial real estate properties that only years ago cost hundreds of millions of dollars are now worth only a fraction of that. 2 weeks ago, billionaire real estate investor Jeff Green warned that we are already in the first inning of the commercial real estate correction, and no one knows when it will end. When the full crisis hits, it will affect everyone. From the mom and pop stores around the corner to the struggling dad trying to hold his family together. Holter warns that everyone will be impacted, especially people living in big cities and completely dependent on the system for food, water, and wealth development. Please share your thoughts on Bill Holter's interview in the comments section. If you are yet to do so, also ensure you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications bell, and smash the like button for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.